Have you ever paused at the close of this year and seriously asked yourself, does the next year truly belong to me? It is a question many overlook, yet it carries immense weight, you see. Life does not promise us tomorrow. Each year is a gift, a canvas that waits to be painted, but who decides the colors we use? Too often, we step into the future blindly, chasing ambitions without pause, without guidance, without purpose. We make plans, set resolutions, and hope for success, but hope alone is fragile. What if, instead, we asked the one who holds time itself? What if we sought clarity and direction before we step into the unknown? Asking God about your next year is not an act of fear. It is an act of wisdom. It is a way of acknowledging that while we strive, there is a higher hand guiding the steps we take. This question, simple as it seems, can change how we prepare, how we act, and how we embrace every moment yet to come. Prayer is often misunderstood as a mere habit, a routine recited at set times, or a ritual that we perform without truly engaging our hearts and minds. Yet the power of prayer lies not in repetition, but in intention. Intentional prayer is the act of approaching God with purpose, clarity, and a genuine desire to understand His will. It is a conscious decision to seek guidance, rather than leaving life to chance or relying solely on our own understanding. When we speak of intentional prayer, we are speaking of a dialogue that bridges the human and the divine, a connection that allows insight, direction, and wisdom to flow into our lives. It is not a matter of asking for everything we desire, but of seeking alignment with a higher plan, understanding what steps to take, and learning how to walk through life with discernment. To pray intentionally is to recognize the limits of our own knowledge. We live in a world where information is abundant, yet clarity is rare. We make plans, set goals, and predict outcomes based on what we see and what we know, but life often unfolds in ways that defy our expectations. Without intentional prayer, we may move forward confidently, only to find that our efforts were misaligned with circumstances beyond our control. Intentional prayer, however, grounds us in the understanding that there is wisdom greater than our own, a wisdom that can guide us to decisions, opportunities, and actions that are truly fruitful. It is an acknowledgement that success, fulfillment, and meaningful progress do not come from effort alone, but from the integration of human initiative with divine guidance. Intentional prayer also cultivates focus. When we approach God with purpose, our minds become trained to recognize what is important and what is trivial. We begin to see the difference between fleeting desires and enduring needs, between short-term satisfaction and long-term growth. This clarity is essential when we ask questions about the future, such as whether the next year belongs to us. A mind preoccupied with distractions, doubts, and fleeting worries cannot engage in meaningful dialogue with God. But a heart committed to intentional prayer is attentive, discerning, and receptive. It listens as much as it speaks, and it is prepared to act on the insights received. Furthermore, intentional prayer strengthens patience and perseverance. When we pray with purpose, we understand that guidance does not always come immediately, and clarity may be revealed gradually. This process teaches us to trust, to wait, and to prepare ourselves in ways that align with what we hope to achieve. It prevents impulsive decisions made in haste or under pressure, and it fosters a mindset that values timing as much as action. In essence, intentional prayer is not about demanding outcomes, but about positioning ourselves to receive them wisely, responsibly, and in harmony with a greater plan. Another dimension of intentional prayer is its transformative effect on character. By deliberately turning our attention to God, we cultivate humility, self-awareness, and moral clarity. We begin to examine our motives, our desires, and our behaviors, recognizing areas where we need growth, correction, or redirection. Prayer becomes not just a tool for seeking guidance, but a mirror reflecting our inner lives, highlighting where change is necessary to align with principles that lead to lasting success. This reflection prepares us for the year ahead, equipping us with the insight and strength to navigate challenges and seize opportunities with integrity. Finally, intentional prayer fosters a sense of partnership with the divine. Life is not a solo endeavor. It is a journey in which we are invited to participate with a wisdom that transcends our understanding. By praying intentionally, we are not relinquishing responsibility, rather we are engaging it fully, bringing our plans, hopes, and fears before God and seeking counsel on how best to proceed. This partnership imbues our actions with purpose, reduces uncertainty, and provides confidence that we are moving in the right direction. It transforms prayer from a passive act into a dynamic force that shapes both our mindset and our circumstances, preparing us to embrace the coming year with clarity, courage, and conviction. Prayer is not simply an act of speaking words into the air or following a ritual out of habit. Its true power emerges when it is intentional, focused, and purposeful. Intentional prayer is the conscious act of engaging with God with full attention, a clear heart, and a desire to seek guidance rather than merely asking for what we want. It involves approaching God not as a last resort in times of need, but as the first step in understanding the path ahead. When one prays intentionally, the dialogue transforms from a one-sided request into a meaningful interaction, a conversation where listening and reflection are just as important as speaking. This type of prayer creates a bridge between human effort and divine insight, allowing us to navigate life with wisdom that exceeds our own understanding. The significance of intentional prayer becomes evident when we consider the unpredictability of life. No matter how meticulously we plan, the future remains uncertain, and our human perspective is inherently limited. Decisions made in haste without reflection or guidance often lead to missed opportunities or unintended consequences. By praying with intention, we invite clarity into our decision-making. We acknowledge that while our effort is necessary, it is incomplete without the guidance of a higher wisdom. This does not imply passivity or reliance on miracles alone. Rather, it emphasizes the integration of human responsibility with divine counsel. Intentional prayer teaches us to act wisely, to align our actions with principles that are enduring, and to prepare ourselves to respond appropriately to the outcomes that unfold. One of the most profound benefits of intentional prayer is the development of focus and discernment. In a world filled with distractions, superficial goals, and constant noise, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Intentional prayer directs the mind and heart toward clarity, helping distinguish between fleeting desires and meaningful aspirations. It encourages reflection on priorities and a deliberate consideration of the consequences of our choices. When we pray with purpose, we cultivate the ability to recognize opportunities aligned with long-term growth rather than temporary gratification. This heightened awareness becomes particularly vital when contemplating questions about the future, such as whether the next year will belong to us. Without such focus, our plans risk being scattered, and our efforts may fall short of their potential. Intentional prayer also fosters patience and endurance. Guidance and insight are not always immediate. Clarity often comes gradually, requiring us to wait and prepare in alignment with what is revealed. This process strengthens character, teaching us to resist impulsive decisions, to remain steadfast in pursuit of worthy goals, and to embrace timing as an essential aspect of success. Through intentional prayer, we learn that life's outcomes are not solely determined by speed or effort, but by alignment with principles that produce lasting results. The act of waiting, reflecting, and listening becomes a form of preparation that equips us to act effectively when the moment is right. Another essential aspect of intentional prayer is its transformative effect on personal character. Engaging deeply with God prompts self-examination, revealing areas where personal growth, moral correction, or renewed focus is necessary. Prayer becomes both a tool for guidance and a mirror for self-reflection, highlighting attitudes, habits, and decisions that may hinder progress. This reflective quality ensures that our actions are rooted in wisdom, integrity, and discernment, rather than impulsiveness or self-interest. By preparing the inner self through intentional dialogue with God, we align our thoughts, decisions, and behaviors with principles that support sustainable growth and meaningful achievements. Finally, Intentional prayer cultivates a sense of partnership between human effort and divine wisdom. It transforms the act of seeking guidance into a dynamic process where planning, preparation, and action coexist with reflection and alignment. Through this partnership, prayer becomes more than a ritual. It becomes a proactive, shaping force in our lives. It instills confidence, reduces uncertainty, and provides a sense of purpose as we move forward. Intentional prayer equips us to approach the year ahead with clarity, resilience, and determination, ensuring that each decision we make is informed, thoughtful, and aligned with a vision greater than our own. Owning the future begins with understanding that the life we live tomorrow is not entirely determined by chance, luck, or the actions of others. It is shaped by the decisions, intentions, and efforts we commit to today. To take ownership of the future is to recognize that while we cannot control every circumstance, we can control how we respond, prepare, and act. It requires a conscious awareness that the power to influence what comes next lies largely in our own hands, and that passivity or indecision cedes control of our lives to external forces. This mindset is essential because it transforms the way we approach goals, challenges, and even uncertainties, creating a sense of responsibility that fuels action and motivates growth. Taking ownership of the future also demands clarity of purpose. Without a clear understanding of where we are headed, it is easy to drift aimlessly, reacting to circumstances rather than proactively shaping outcomes. When we actively define what we want our future to look like, we equip ourselves to make intentional choices that align with our vision. This is not merely about setting vague aspirations, but about establishing concrete objectives and evaluating the steps necessary to achieve them. Ownership requires us to confront our fears, doubts, and limitations with honesty, assessing not only the opportunities available to us, but also the personal qualities we must cultivate to succeed. By doing so, we ensure that we are not passive observers in the unfolding of our lives, but active participants who understand the consequences of our actions and the responsibility that accompanies them. Another essential aspect of owning the future is the acceptance of accountability. Life often presents obstacles, setbacks, and failures, and it is tempting to attribute these to circumstances, other people, or fate. Yet true ownership means embracing accountability for both successes and failures. It is the understanding that while external factors influence outcomes, our choices, attitudes, and responses ultimately shape the direction of our lives. This perspective encourages resilience and problem-solving as we focus on what we can control and improve rather than lament what we cannot. It fosters a mindset that seeks solutions, adapts strategies, and continually refines goals in light of experience and feedback, allowing for progress even in the face of challenges. Ownership of the future is closely tied to the notion of proactive preparation. The future does not arrive fully formed. It is constructed from the steps we take today. This involves diligent planning, skill development, and cultivating habits that position us to seize opportunities as they arise. It also requires the discipline to prioritize long-term benefits over short-term gratification, understanding that consistent, deliberate action compounds over time to create meaningful results. By preparing intentionally, we place ourselves in a position of strength, reducing the influence of chance and increasing the likelihood that our aspirations will materialize. It is through this proactive engagement that we transform uncertainty into possibility, knowing that while the future is never guaranteed, it can be shaped through deliberate effort. Furthermore, owning the future involves an internal shift in mindset, moving from passivity to empowerment. It is the realization that waiting for the right time, or for external circumstances to align, is often a form of surrender, relinquishing control of life to forces beyond our influence. When we embrace ownership, we act with purpose, taking initiative even when conditions are not perfect. This does not imply recklessness or blind confidence, but rather a thoughtful courage that acknowledges risks, weighs potential outcomes, and proceeds with informed conviction. It encourages personal responsibility, self-discipline, and the consistent pursuit of growth, ensuring that we are not merely passengers in life, but navigators charting a course toward our goals. Finally, ownership of the future intertwines with the principle of active engagement with the present. The choices we make today, the actions we take, and the attitudes we cultivate all directly influence what tomorrow holds. By living intentionally, focusing on growth, and maintaining clarity of purpose, we ensure that the future is not something that happens to us, but something we shape. It instills confidence and a sense of empowerment as we recognize that each decision, however small, contributes to the unfolding of our lives. Taking ownership of the future is thus both a mindset and a practice. It is the daily commitment to act, to reflect, and to align our present actions with the vision we have for the life we desire to lead. Uncertainty is one of the most unavoidable aspects of life. No matter how meticulously we plan, no matter how much we prepare, the future is never fully predictable. We often assume that effort alone guarantees outcomes, that careful planning ensures success, or that following a set routine will protect us from setbacks. Yet reality constantly challenges these assumptions. Uncertainty is the constant companion of human existence, reminding us that while we may influence events, we do not control them entirely. Recognizing this reality is not meant to discourage us, but to prepare us to approach life with humility, wisdom, and adaptability. When we acknowledge uncertainty, we stop assuming that the future is owed to us simply because we desire it or work for it. Instead, we cultivate a mindset that seeks clarity, guidance, and alignment before stepping into the unknown. One of the first lessons that uncertainty teaches is the importance of discernment. In an unpredictable world, the ability to evaluate situations, identify risks, and respond with informed decisions becomes invaluable. We cannot always predict which paths will lead to success or which decisions will result in setbacks, but we can develop the judgment to navigate challenges as they arise. Discernment involves observing reality honestly, acknowledging limitations, and seeking wisdom from sources beyond our immediate understanding. It encourages reflection before action, asking questions that probe deeper than surface-level assumptions, and remaining open to guidance that may shift our perspective. In this way, uncertainty is not simply a challenge to endure, but an opportunity to strengthen our judgment, resilience, and ability to adapt. Another dimension of uncertainty is its effect on our plans and expectations. Often, we create detailed visions of how the future should unfold, mapping out steps and milestones as though they are guaranteed. Yet life frequently introduces variables that we did not anticipate, opportunities that appear unexpectedly, obstacles that disrupt carefully laid plans, or circumstances beyond our control that change the course of events. Understanding this reality allows us to approach the future with flexibility rather than rigid insistence. It teaches us that plans are guides, not guarantees, and that success often requires adjustment, patience, and creativity. By internalizing this truth, we can act decisively while remaining open to change, avoiding frustration when the unexpected occurs, and learning to capitalize on new possibilities. Uncertainty also emphasizes the value of seeking guidance and perspective. Human knowledge is inherently limited, and our ability to foresee the consequences of our choices is constrained by what we can observe and understand. In the face of uncertainty, relying solely on our intuition, experience, or effort can lead to missteps. The wise, therefore, seek insight from trusted sources, mentors, and, in a spiritual context, from God. Consulting guidance allows us to approach the unknown with preparation and clarity, turning uncertainty into a landscape where informed decisions are possible. It does not eliminate unpredictability, but it equips us to respond intelligently, reducing the likelihood of regret and increasing our capacity to navigate challenges successfully. Embracing uncertainty also cultivates resilience and mental fortitude. When we recognize that outcomes are not entirely in our control, we learn to adapt, to recover from setbacks, and to maintain focus on what can be influenced. Resilience is not simply enduring difficulty. It is the ability to remain proactive and purposeful, even when circumstances are unclear or unfavorable. Uncertainty challenges our patience and persistence, forcing us to rely on internal strength, flexibility, and the discipline to continue striving despite incomplete information. In this sense, uncertainty is a teacher, shaping character, strengthening resolve, and fostering confidence in our ability to handle whatever comes next. Finally, the reality of uncertainty underscores the importance of aligning our efforts with principles that provide stability amid change. While we cannot guarantee the outcomes of our endeavors, we can ground our actions in wisdom, preparation, and values that withstand unpredictability. By acting intentionally, seeking guidance, and cultivating habits of diligence, integrity, and reflection, we maximize the probability that the future unfolds favorably, even when circumstances are beyond our control. Uncertainty does not negate effort or planning, it simply reminds us that success is never guaranteed, and that humility, awareness, and adaptability are as critical as determination and skill. Recognizing this reality transforms how we approach life, encouraging us to act thoughtfully, prepare diligently, and remain flexible, ensuring that we are ready to embrace the opportunities that emerge despite the unknowns that surround us. Faith is often misunderstood as a passive state of mind, a quiet hope that things will work out, or a distant trust that someone else will intervene on our behalf. Yet true faith is active. It does not exist in isolation from effort, preparation, or responsibility. Faith and action are inseparable, each reinforcing the other. To believe without acting is to ignore the responsibility that comes with trust, while to act without faith is to navigate life without purpose or direction. The combination of faith and action creates a powerful force that propels individuals forward, allowing them to face uncertainty, overcome obstacles, and pursue meaningful goals with both confidence and discernment. It is the recognition that while we may not control every outcome, our faith motivates deliberate, intentional action that aligns with a higher wisdom and our own potential. When faith and action work together, they create clarity of purpose. Faith provides the vision of what could be, a sense of hope that guides the mind and heart toward possibility. Action provides the steps to bring that vision into reality. Without faith, action can become mechanical, uninspired, and short-sighted, focused only on immediate results or superficial goals. Without action, faith can become stagnant, a mere wish or idle optimism. The integration of the two ensures that our endeavors are rooted in intention, guided by belief, and strengthened by effort. It turns abstract hope into concrete progress, providing both direction and momentum as we move toward the future we desire. Another essential aspect of combining faith and action is courage. Action requires effort, and effort often involves risk, discomfort, and uncertainty. Faith provides the courage to step forward, even when the path is unclear, when challenges loom, and when outcomes cannot be guaranteed. It reinforces perseverance in the face of setbacks, reminding us that obstacles are not insurmountable barriers, but opportunities to demonstrate resilience and adaptability. Faith-driven action encourages persistence, ensuring that temporary failures do not discourage long-term pursuit, and that the vision we hold remains a motivating force rather than a fleeting ideal. Faith and action together also cultivate discipline and consistency. Belief alone does not achieve goals, and occasional effort rarely produces lasting results. When faith is coupled with action, it demands sustained commitment, careful planning, and incremental progress. Each step taken, no matter how small, becomes a tangible expression of faith in motion. This process develops habits of diligence, responsibility, and strategic thinking, reinforcing the principle that success is rarely instantaneous, but emerges through persistent effort aligned with purpose. Action guided by faith ensures that energy is not wasted on distractions or superficial pursuits, but channeled into meaningful endeavors that advance both personal growth and long-term aspirations. Additionally, faith-informed action nurtures humility and awareness. While action involves exerting effort, making decisions, and taking responsibility, faith reminds us that we are not entirely self-sufficient. It encourages reliance on wisdom beyond our own understanding, fostering discernment in choices and a recognition of limits. This balance prevents pride and impulsiveness, ensuring that actions are thoughtful, measured, and aligned with principles that endure beyond immediate results. It strengthens the relationship between preparation and trust, showing that our efforts are not meaningless but gain significance when informed by insight, guided by values, and supported by belief in a higher purpose. Faith and action also work together to create momentum in the pursuit of goals. Action translates belief into measurable steps, progress, and experience, while faith maintains direction and purpose even when results are not immediately visible. Together, they prevent stagnation, fear, or indecision from dominating life. Faith inspires action, and action reinforces faith, creating a cycle of empowerment that gradually transforms vision into reality. Each effort made with belief behind it accumulates, building confidence, skill, and clarity that propel further steps forward. It is through this synergy that individuals move beyond passive wishing or idle hope, engaging in life as creators, planners, and doers guided by both trust and determination. Finally, the partnership of faith and action ensures that our lives are intentional, purposeful, and impactful. Faith without action leaves potential unrealized, while action without faith risks exhaustion, frustration, or misalignment with true priorities. By integrating both, we equip ourselves to pursue the future with clarity, courage, and resilience. We act not out of desperation, fear, or blind hope, but with confidence that each step is meaningful, each choice is aligned, and each effort contributes to a life shaped by purpose, direction, and principle. Faith and action together create a foundation for growth, achievement, and fulfillment that is both realistic and empowering, ensuring that our journey into the future is guided, deliberate, and transformative. Reflection is a crucial step in preparing for the future, yet it is often overlooked in the business of daily life. Many individuals move from one day to the next without taking the time to pause, evaluate, and learn from their experiences. Reflection is the deliberate act of looking back at past actions, decisions, and outcomes with honesty and clarity. It allows us to recognize both successes and mistakes, to understand the forces that shaped our experiences, and to draw lessons that can guide future behavior. Without reflection, the future becomes a continuation of past habits and errors, often repeating patterns that limit growth and progress. Through careful consideration, however, we gain insight into what truly works, what hinders us, and how we can make more informed choices moving forward. Alignment is the natural companion of reflection. Once we have gained insight from examining the past, we must ensure that our actions, goals, and intentions are consistent with the values and principles that lead to meaningful progress. Alignment is not simply about planning. It is about integrating what we have learned with a clear understanding of our purpose. When our goals, choices, and actions are aligned with both personal values and the wisdom gained from experience, we move forward with greater effectiveness and confidence. This process helps us avoid repeating mistakes, reinforces behaviors that contribute to growth, and ensures that our efforts are focused on outcomes that truly matter rather than on distractions or superficial pursuits. Reflection and alignment also foster clarity in decision-making. Life presents countless options, opportunities, and paths, and it is easy to become overwhelmed or misguided by external pressures or fleeting desires. By examining past experiences and ensuring alignment with long-term objectives and values, we develop a framework for making decisions that are thoughtful, intentional, and strategic. This approach reduces the likelihood of impulsive actions, regretful choices, or wasted effort, replacing uncertainty with a structured perspective that guides our behavior. In this way, reflection and alignment act as a compass, pointing us toward decisions and actions that are consistent with both our principles and our vision for the future. Another important aspect of reflection and alignment is the cultivation of personal growth and maturity. Through reflection, we confront our weaknesses, acknowledge areas for improvement, and identify habits or patterns that need adjustment. Alignment ensures that these insights are translated into actionable steps that shape behavior and character. This combination fosters self-awareness, discipline, and emotional intelligence, equipping us to handle challenges with wisdom and to seize opportunities with preparedness. Reflection without alignment risks introspection without progress, while alignment without reflection risks misdirection or blind adherence to routine. Together, they create a dynamic process of learning, growth, and purposeful action. Reflection and alignment also deepen our understanding of priorities. Often, we are pulled in multiple directions by competing demands, social expectations, or personal ambitions. By reflecting on what has been effective and meaningful in the past, and by aligning future plans with our core values, we gain a clearer sense of what deserves our time, energy, and focus. This clarity allows us to invest ourselves in pursuits that contribute to long-term success and fulfillment, rather than dissipating effort on trivial or inconsequential matters. It encourages deliberate living, ensuring that each action is a step toward a coherent vision of the life we aspire to create. Furthermore, reflection and alignment enhance resilience and adaptability. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned, and setbacks, changes, or unexpected challenges are inevitable. By reflecting on past experiences, we learn how to respond effectively to adversity. By aligning our goals and actions with principles and long-term objectives, we maintain focus and direction even amid disruption. This combination strengthens our ability to recover, adapt, and continue progressing despite obstacles, reinforcing confidence that the future is shaped not solely by circumstances, but by the intentional choices and guided actions we make. Finally, reflection and alignment cultivate a sense of purpose and intentionality. They transform the approach to the future from passive anticipation to active shaping, where each decision is informed, each action is deliberate, and each effort contributes meaningfully to long-term aspirations. By reflecting on lessons learned and aligning our plans with core values and principles, we create a foundation for growth, achievement, and fulfillment. This process ensures that the next year or any period of life is not merely a continuation of the past, but an opportunity to apply wisdom, take responsibility, and pursue progress with clarity, focus, and purpose.